While many students and professionals use social all the time, most people don't understand the ecosystem of social big data. And so the key is that it gives you a lot of competitive advantage if you understand how big data and how social big data works. The knowledge allows you to leverage big data to gain really critical insights into your high-value audiences. In other words, they're talking about the things that are of concerns to them and the things that they want and that they need. And if you know how to listen to it, you can begin to understand what people are looking for and how to build the best product or build the best approach as an IMC marketer to get them engaged. It allows you to also identify crises and attempt to manage or avert them. We'll be seeing social war rooms where companies identify a crisis, and as it's starting to happen, they do different things to attempt to avert it, and can do that quite successfully. Digital big data also provides you the ability to engage with people discussing something of interest to them in real time. In other words, again, from the social war room perspective, if somebody says, I really am looking for a new iWatch, you can go in with an Apple offer and make it directly to them. And it also allows you to monitor changes in communities and topics over time, which we'll be discussing as we move forward. And so the thing about it is, most people think that social big data means you have to go out to all the different types of sites there are in the world and pull it together. But that's a real misconception. Essentially, all big data starts at different sites, but there are companies like BoardReader or Social Gist that pull that data together into a compiled set of data that they provide to different sorts of analytics companies. And what happens then is that data is in the raw state when it's at a company like Social Gist. And then they take it and can read it, transform it in terms of translating it into different languages. Then they can analyze it in terms of tone and sentiment. What sort of topics are they discussing? What are the themes and things like that, to turn the big data into some information. And then from there, we can use sophisticated social monitoring systems to gather big insights. And so this entire ecosystem works very, very rapidly. Someone posting a blog in China could have it in the United States or in Canada within a matter of seconds. It could be then translated into English, analyzed by these social sites in real time or in a matter of minutes. And so the key is, we can move data very, very rapidly. And so one of the things you need to understand is, by default, global big data is global. In other words, there are all the countries flowing together, all the languages flowing together into a great big ecosystem where you can analyze it then in real time. And so here's a few terms you really need to understand. When they talk about documents, they're actually talking about a tweet, a blog post, a video, a podcast, or any other form of communication. And so each one of those is a document. And the way that it works is social media companies charge by the document. And so what a lot of companies will do, and you'll see it in our class, we want to work with our topic profiles to get them as accurate as we possibly can, so we are not overcharged by getting a bunch of documents we don't want and that we can't use. The second thing is, it is global. Data is global by default, so you can eliminate it by theme or by topic or by geography or by language or by the type of site to hone it down to what you want. But the key is, we start with a global pool of all conversations, and then we hone it down from there. Another term you're going to see in the class is sentiment. And that means that we can analyze every individual, every theme or topic that's being discussed, every company, and determine whether it's a positive or negative discussion for each one of those elements. And so we can analyze a document and say, overall, is it positive or negative? And then we can do it for each component part to analyze whether a person is positive or negative about whatever it is they're discussing. And that is called the sentiment. So if your company should have a very positive sentiment overall, but if suddenly it swings negative, then you know you have a crisis. And so sentiment is a very important and analytical piece that we'll go through in class, and is very important when you're listening to your marketplace to understand whether it's a positive or negative conversation. And incidentally, with these social analytics tools, you can actually just look at the negative ones or just look at the positive ones to see what they're talking about. Some other terms you need to know. When we're going and building a topic profile, we're looking for what people are talking about, a specific topic. And so we have different ways we can match things up. One of them is an exact match. In other words, if I say I want an exact match on social media or Northwestern Medill or Medill IMC, when I specify an exact match, it means those two words have to be in exactly that order with exactly that capitalization in order for that document to be selected for my analysis. So exact match has to be exactly what you put in there to make it work. A second option you have is what's called proximity match. So I can say I want to build my criteria on the words social and media, and I want it can occur anywhere within 50 words of each other. And so if I said, I really enjoy social and I really think that media is changing, it would select that document for my analysis. And so the nice part about proximity matching is you can say how many words between the two. So I could say if I wanted Medill IMC within 2 words, if you said IMC Medill, I'd select it. Or if you said Medill IMC, I would select it. And so the key is you can set it how you want to really pull out the documents that you want to analyze. One of the most important ones is the exclusion term, and that means get rid of a conversation that has those terms. For example, I work in the area of power supplies, and so one type of power supply is AC/DC, but it's also the name of a hard rock band, and so I have to go in and say I want AC/DC, but I don't want it if it says acid rock, hard rock, MP3, and the names of the band members and the names of their big hits, because I want to exclude them. And so you have to work your way through with exclusion terms, oftentimes more than the inclusion terms, to make it work. A good example is a couple of quarters back, we had the head of social for Kraft. And one of the things they wanted to do was to isolate Oreo cookies. And what they found is that every dog, every rabbit, every other animal that is white and black was oftentimes called Oreo. So they had to go in they had over 400 exclusion terms just to isolate down to what is an Oreo cookie. And so you use exact match, proximity match, and exclusion terms to really get to the documents you want to analyze to gain the insights that you want to gain. And so there's 2 types of analytics tools. They're the free tools. They provide 1 day worth of analysis, and they have a lot of capabilities. They can find articles, they can find social influencers, they can find what topics are being discussed, but it's all within a 1 day window. And we can do, using the advanced options, we can do all of the exact match, proximity match, and exclude terms to really get to the conversation we want for each day. So every day you go out there, it'll be different. The 4 fee tools that we'll be using in class can essentially take a topic profile that we developed with our exact match, proximity match, and exclusion terms, and it can look back for months or years to identify the trends that are happening. We can actually go back to about 2007. You probably don't want to go back that far because social changes so fast, but you could go back a year or 6 months very effectively. It's much more effective in measuring sentiment because it can measure it over time as opposed to a one-time measure. And it also is really excellent at identifying influencers. It's more sophisticated in terms of its analytics capability, as you're going to see. And we're able to provide alerts, and some of them are used to drive social war rooms by looking for certain types of conversations, taking it over to humans that are in the social war room so that they can decide what to do with that particular conversation. And so we'll be looking at a lot of these tools as you go through class, and they're a lot of fun to use. Just keep in mind the key terms and the key concepts that really drive social media.